Welcome back, Pet Health Junkie. We are so excited to be talking to our guest, the incredible Rita Hogan, today. We're so happy to be able to bring her to you, especially since her book, The Herbal Dog, has just launched. We are so excited. I can't tell you. I really cannot tell you how excited I am for this book. And I know I've told Rita this in the past. One of my goals this year is to learn more about herbalism. So this was like the universe telling me, here you go.
There's
Yeah,
Rita.
the best teacher. Yeah, we are so excited for you to be here. So excited for your book. So excited for your tour. Thank you so much for all that you do. Welcome, Rita Hogan.
Hello. So excited to be here. Really am totally excited about it. And I get all three of you at one time.
I know we
Without
try
any-
very hard not to talk over. I know, just as I was saying, we try very hard not to talk over each other. But yes, we have a lot of questions, and I think I know Janet wanted to ask you a little bit about like your motivation and why you wrote the book, and I think that's a great place to start, if you wouldn't mind, Janet.
Well, that's just it. When I saw you on social media, Rita, announcing your book, and then I see the posts, all the time and pre-order and I'd love for you to, by the time this comes out, it will be released. So we definitely want people to hear more than one time during the podcast where they can go get your beautiful book. But that's quite a lofty goal that, when you set out to write a book, number one, but then when we talk about herbs and herbalism and especially, canines, and I'm sure that Pam is probably going to ask you about cat, but, in the space where we all work and live and breathe and love, it's about natural pet care. It's about wellness, and definitely herbs, lend itself to that. So if you could just give us and our listeners a background, your background, first of all, kind of set the stage there, and then tell us what led you to wanting to write this beautiful book.
Well, my background is in herbalism. I've been doing it a long time, a couple decades. It morphed and changed to full-time herbalism, but I started off in kennel-free boarding and moving to Tennessee. Then I started studying herbalism, and then I decided I was going to do dogs and herbs. And then I realized there was a couple other people out there that were dedicating their lives to animals and herbalism, and I was excited about that. The internet was not the internet of today. You couldn't find any information out on the internet. You could. I don't even think you could order like books on the internet at that time. I'm not positive. I don't think you could. At least I couldn't. I didn't know how. We had satellite internet at the time, but I just realized how sick dogs were. How sick they were, and that people would be so surprised when their animals would get better. So we moved to Olympia, Washington, and that's when I really, really took it on like full time. But I helped all the people that I boarded dogs with and experimented on pugs in my rescue for a long time with herbs. They're non-toxic herbs, but they taught me a lot, and here I am. So the motivation to write the book is definitely to get people to understand how to use herbs according to plant language, which many people don't. I put out a meme today about the book helping with the supplement graveyard. Reason why is because so many people have so many things that their dogs just don't, it doesn't work. And usually that's because they are not looking at the plants as individuals or their dog as an individual. So, this book really helps you do that. And if you don't want to do that with the book, that's fine. It still help you, right? It's part learning and it's part reference. But hopefully, you'll want to learn a little bit about your dog as an ecosystem and an individual. And that will keep you from having that supplement graveyard, because you'll have different palettes in which to use and choose herbs from. But I, the book is 400 and oh my God.
A lot of pages.
It's 440 pages long.
Wow.
And it really comes out of a mentorship I had with about like 30 to 40 women for about 4 years. Every single Thursday. And I showed up and they showed up, and I wrote lessons and they wrote lessons. And then when I went to write the book, I had a lot that I had already done and put together. So I had to rewrite everything and then add things here and there and decide what I wanted to go into it. But that was definitely the motivation.
That's a lot of dedication. Can you give us just one example before we go on to the next question about a dog that you, like you said, that looking at your pet as an ecosystem and then looking at the herbs and as I think you said, a plant, individual plant. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
And so can you give us an example? Because, in Pupology, as with Jessica and Pam, we deal with herbs. We do have some brands on our shelves here at Pupology, and at home, I have what I call my first aid kit, and it is full of various herbs. And what I love is that if I see a symptom with Charlie, my 13-year-old Aussie, I know I can spin my little wheel and get my tincture, and I give him that, and he's fine within, 2 to 3 days. But I don't know if that's exactly what you're talking about. Because that
What
seems
wheel
very...
are you spinning? I want to know you're spinning.
That's what
I
I was
have
wondering.
my little wheel. I have a dual layered cake plate in my kitchen, and it spins. So it's 2 layers, and it's on a spindle. And I just have my tinctures out, on the counter because they don't fit in a cabinet. And
Okay.
so that's where I keep my tinctures, and I call it my first aid kit. It's my go-to. But, their daily digest drops are there. But then if occasionally Charlie will get runny eyes, and I have an allergy drop that works beautifully with him. And so I give it to him for a couple of days, and those little boogies dry up.
Well, good. I don't know what
I've
those
been doing that for a long
I
time.
don't know what's in those allergy drops, but probably something that resonates with him, right?
Yeah.
I definitely would encourage you to explore more, like why he gets the boogies in the first place and why they're chronic and why you have to keep giving that boogie tincture.
Liver and
Yeah.
environmental with him. And he loves to stay outside. And so it coincides, like here in Central Texas where we are, his little drippy eye usually coincides with what's going on outside. And I actually am going to step into the store, and I'm going to go get my tincture so I can tell you what plants are in it.
Get your boogie drops. Get those boogie
Get my
drops.
boogie drop. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you
Let's
tell
get
everybody, give us an
boogie.
example. But
You can use it as an example. But if you're, the biggest example that I have, and I think I use it in the book because it's just so common and easy, is, turmeric. Everyone loves turmeric. I just did a monograph on turmeric, and, everyone loves turmeric. Well, turmeric is not good for a lot of dogs that are too warm, because turmeric is not as warming as ginger, but it is quite warming. Ginger and turmeric, if you look on the shelves of your store, you're going to see ginger and turmeric in so much. And it just doesn't work for dogs that are hot. It makes them more hot. It makes them more lethargic. It causes more inflammation because they're hot, like an indirect cause of inflammation. So, that's the biggest example that most people know what turmeric is, and it's warming. I think it tastes great, and I'm a warm person. And if I eat turmeric, my face turns red. I love it, but I can't eat it very regularly, very inconsistently. I can have it like when I go out for Thai and someone puts a little bit in there or something like that. Or I eat that great, what is that, potato and cauliflower dish. It's an Indian dish. Yummy. But I probably haven't had that in years, but it's chock full of turmeric. But yeah, that's looking at a dog as an ecosystem. If your dog turns out to have more of a unbalanced heat in their ecosystem, turmeric is not something you're going to use consistently. You can use the one-off, but it's not something that you should be giving your dog.
that's a good example about what you mean by that, the ecosystem.
What's in your boogie drops?
This is nettle, which I've heard you talk about nettle many times.
Nettle's great.
Yep, there is licorice in here. Burdock root, I've heard you talk about that many times. And my 60-year-old eyes are failing me right now. With the last ingredient, I can't see it. It's with an E.
Echinacea.
Eyebright?
Eyebright. What is it? Is it?
EY. Yeah, Eyebright.
Eyebright.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. Eyebright's good for allergies, and it's good for the eyes, of course. That's a fine formula. It's cooling. So your dog is most likely a warm dog.
Yeah.
So if it's working well, and it works well each time.
Nice.
So that's a cooling formula.
And I feed him cooling foods as well.
Yeah. So now, if your dog was not a warm dog, that formula most likely would not work very well. It could work acutely, but it's not going to work all the time.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's an example.
Good to know. That's great. Very practical.
One of the things that I'm kind of picking up on, Rita, is how individual an animal is and how individual a plant is. As I was thinking of it, I was like, oh yeah, that's the name of your podcast, Dogs Are Individuals, because all of these supplements that are out here, there are so many supplements. Most people don't read the ingredients of anything they buy. And it is very, like, you really do need to dive into what ingredients are in each supplement you're purchasing and why they're there. What is the benefit? Does your dog actually need that? And I think when you have someone who goes down the rabbit hole of herbs, that's exactly what you're teaching yourself, is how to look at each thing individually. Does that make sense? Am I going down the right path?
You're going to right. Yes, you are. You're going down the right. You're following the right rabbit.
Following the right rabbit.
Yes, that is exactly. I mean, some people view it as it makes everything harder. It actually doesn't once you just put a little work into it. And it doesn't mean that a warm dog can't have, it doesn't mean that a warm dog can't have, let's just say, turmeric, right? But it does mean that they shouldn't have it all the time and consistently. Or you need to give something that really offsets the heat. So if you're going to give ginger and turmeric, then, give something like gentian that is nice and cold that will offset some of that heat. But I still don't think that works for the long term. I haven't seen it work all that well for the long term. For the short term, sure, absolutely. But for the long term, and as dogs go, this is really important. So as dogs go up the chronic disease list and they get more symptoms and more symptoms and more symptoms, it's more important to stick to an energetically appropriate diet and supplements as they get hotter. Because, with cold dogs that are cold and hot are disease states. So you've got, you've probably got some arthritis, some liver weakness, some kidney weakness, you've got some aching and groaning, probably some plaque on the teeth, just a lot of, what is called comorbidities or, symptoms showing up in the cold department and the hot department. They look different, right? But when a dog is cold, if you give them cold herbs or cold food, and I mean cooling foods, cold temperature is even worse, but cooling foods consistently, you will not on purpose, but make their health worse.
Contribute.
And, and these are common sense things, the way the body works. The body works on a system of opposites for the most part. Now, if you're using homeopathy, that's different. It's like cures like, and that's a different mindset. And I mix homeopathy and herbs all the time. I include homeopathy in my book. But, when your body's too hot, it's really good to cool it. Okay. And if your body's too warm, we want to cool it down. And someone asked me the other day, well, should I feed them frozen food? No, because their gut, it's an ecosystem. We're not talking about just the gut. The gut does not need frozen food. The gut, that's even a nice warm digestion. We don't want to freeze it out. And it takes so much energy from our dogs to heat up that frozen food. We don't want to do that. Because I see the mindset, well, if they're hot, then maybe giving them frozen food will help. No. Will they be more tolerant to cold food? Sure. Like out of the refrigerator. Yes, they might in the dead of summer, but very rarely it will still negatively affect their gut. And we don't want to shut down that digestion because it does need warmth and it does need heat. But there's different types of heat. And we're talking about the whole ecosystem. We're not talking about just the gastrointestinal tract, and everything's connected. So we really want to be mindful of that.
Good point.
We can't hear you, Jessica.
Jessa, you are
Sorry,
muted.
I was muted because there was a lot of noise in my background. I apologize. So that was making me think of the whole concept of yin and yang, and how even if we have a hot dog or if we have a cold dog, we do want to lean in the opposite direction for what we're doing, but we can't be 100%, right? It's never all of one or the other.
Stay. That's why consistency is important. You can't hold a health in stasis. And for those of you that do not know what yin and yang are, because I tend to speak out against those terms in the English language, because a lot of people don't understand the concept. It's rising energy and falling energy, things that stimulate and then things that calm. Cold dogs need more stimulation, and dogs that are already super stimulated need more downward energy. So yes, and it definitely is along those concepts, because all the food, all the herbs, all of them have different energy into different degrees. Like I said,
And
ginger's much hotter than turmeric.
in your
Or
book,
venison is much colder.
sorry,
Yes,
in the
Janet.
book, do you talk about, how to identify your pet as warming or cooling? Do you go into those? Good.
Yeah. That, my sweet, is chapter 3. Chapter 3.
My favorite
Chapter
number.
3 is all about energetics. It's to help you about your pup and give you a good idea. Even if you can just get are they warm or cool? And remember, it's a spectrum. It's not just it's a spectrum. And in my opinion, most dogs are either born warm or cool. And when they start to get sick, they go towards the kind of like polar regions of hot and cold. I don't see them cross over that much. They can get warmer in their spectrum or cooler in their spectrum. Like a hot dog can go back to warm, just a night. And warm and cool are nice and healthy. It's when they start to get colder and hotter, that's when we start seeing things just coming up. And, like fur loss and dryness. But if people can just get warm and cool, so many things will open up. I remember when I discovered energetics, it was a lecture with Matthew Wood. I discovered energetics and my head blew off. And it was like I was sitting there and all of a sudden I saw all of these cases that I worked with, dogs that I worked with, and exactly why they didn't work. Like I was like, oh yeah, oh my God, that's why that didn't work. That's why oh my God, that's why that, and that's why, and oh, this is, and that, and my head just went, ooh, and I was like, oh God, I have to learn this. And there are still things I'm learning, but I was like, wow, this is so awesome and I learned a little bit about it when I read my favorite book. There it is. When I read this, when I was just starting out, I read Cheryl Swartz's book and so I was just starting a little tidbit secret. I just started out in 2003, right? This book was written in 1996, 2003, right? I read this book. She was my ultimate. And I was like, oh my God, who is this woman? I love her. And this book helped me so much. It blew my brains. And it's Cheryl Swartz, DVM. She's on the back. Cheryl Swartz. And Pam, I know you're into this.
Yes.
I want to tell you a super fun thing about Cheryl and I and this right here. So I asked Cheryl to write me a thing for my book, right? I just put it out there. I helped her cat. And the fact that I helped her cat is just mind-blowing. Just blew my head off. Like, this is all coming full circle. This is crazy. So she says, Rita is a fellow pioneer who offers choices of maintaining health and blah, blah, blah. Okay, hold on. Now, that came much later than when this was written. So in here, I have an acknowledgement to her. Hold on, I'm going to find, this is just the best. I love, to Cheryl Swartz. Thank you for looking beyond what is visible. Are you ready? You're a pioneer of integrative care and inspiration. Both, what's so crazy is we both called each other a pioneer. She said, you're a fellow pioneer. And I was just like, that is crazy. Wait till she, I don't think she's read it. Maybe she has, but I'm like, wait till she reads the acknowledgement. I mean, it's crazy because when you read I'm not going to read the whole thing, but when you read the whole thing, it was like, what? And I loved that our brains were on the same spectrum. And, he's the pioneer, not me. Yeah. But I might be a pioneer to someone who is coming up, up and coming. And that's one of the reasons why I love what I'm doing and how my life has worked out to do this work is that, this book is a way for me to hand the baton to someone and say, here, take my work, right? And it's not mine. It's not my work. A little bit is mine, right? By dealing with dogs and every day and stuff like that. But this is the work of my mentors and the people before them and the people before them and the people before them, because that's what herbalism is about. That's what traditional herbalism is about. And so, this is my interpretation and my experience of herbalism, but it's not mine. And I want someone else to take this and take my work and expand it, right? Expand it to where my brain doesn't go, because we all have these really special little guys right up here, this special way that we see things. I see things in patterns. Like I see the world in patterns. And, I want to hand the baton to other people to help them rise up and help others, because that's what it's all about, right? We're here to help our cats, our dogs, our donkeys, our chickens. I'm learning homeopathy for chickens right now. We're, whatever little creatures we're taking care of, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's, whatever we gravitate towards, right? I definitely want one of those small Highland cows really bad. I want one really bad. And after this book tour is over, it might happen. Like whatever we're taking care of, we want them to be healthy. We want ourselves to be healthy. 100%. And I think that, and what I love about that, especially in this climate right now, like what we're dealing with in the United States right now, the one thing that brings us together as a people is our animals, right? We can for those people who love animals, some people don't, but like the people that love animals, which is way more than the people who don't love animals. And some people just have some strange fears of animals, but like, our dogs and our cats and all the little fuzzy creatures in our homes, they bring us together despite our political differences or despite how we believe this and we believe that and everyone's trying to be right and blah, blah, blah. We really come together and plants, in my opinion, are healers of all of that stuff. So yeah, so there I go. That I digress. I
love that.
I want to ask you where you would suggest pet parents start. And I don't know if you want to answer that now or later in the podcast. Well, aside from reading the book, but a lot of times, I think all of us, we see pet parents that are overwhelmed, and they, bottom line to what you were just saying, Rita, is what we can all agree that we're in unity about wanting to help our pets and wanting them to be the most healthy they can be, to be with us the longest they can be with us while being healthy. I don't mean they lived 15 years and were on Apoquel and Cytopoint for 8,000 years, because we all know that that comes with grave consequences eventually, and it doesn't lead to a quality life. What would you tell our listeners, our pet parents who are caught in this gerbil wheel of going the traditional route?
I think that a couple of things get in the way. One starts with a P, ends with an E, if I'm spelling it correctly, which is not always the right thing. Called patience.
Yes.
And the other one is expectations.
Yeah.
And the other one is fear. So I think those three things get in the way. I think that our expectations are pharmaceutical.
Correct.
I talk about in the book, I try to I try to calm people down. I'm always trying to calm people down because they get excited. And, we come from fear, like literally, if a dog's toenail, say a dog's toenail ripped out of their paw pad.
It just happened to my puppy.
Okay.
Her toenail was at a 90-degree. Literally, this Sunday, we saw it. And so Monday, I took her into the vet and they sent me an x-ray and they're like, she broke her toe and it's already healed. This has to have been here 2 to 4 weeks. And my husband and I were like, there's no way. We play fetch with her every morning, every night. She is so active. I'm looking at her paw pad. She's been groomed twice. And I'm like, no. We got home from dinner last night and I'm playing with her. And my husband noticed, he goes, where's her toenail? And I looked, her paw pads, everything was back to normal. But the vet was convinced that it had broken and already healed. But it was, I guess, dislocated because everything is there and back to quote unquote normal.
She probably just shoved it back in place.
Apparently she did.
Yeah.
She saved me on vet
don't have the
bills.
trauma that we do. They're like, something hurts there. I'm going to just keep on doing what I'm doing. But,
Yeah.
well, the example, like a nail comes out of the nail bed and it's really obvious. I think a lot of people don't think and go, okay, yeah, it's going to be a little swollen, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they literally feel like their dog is going to spontaneously explode in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just explode. The dog is exploding. And just because it's missing a nail from its paw pad. And, that alone can get you on, okay, well, we're just going to do antibiotics just in case. Right? Okay, yeah. Good. Thank you so much. They like, oh God, yeah, that's it. That's it right there. And then we just destroyed their dog's immune system.
Uh-huh.
And then that's just the gift that keeps on giving. Right?
Yes.
And they don't do anything about it.
No.
Because, well, it was last year they gave him, I hear all the time, I say something like, well, you gave me antibiotics. So, this is why this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I gave him antibiotics 2 years ago. And you did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, yeah, he started having problems about 3 months after the antibiotics, typical 3 to 6 months, where it's, you don't, it's kind of like economics, right? Something happens and you don't see it for like months, and then all of a sudden you're screwed. So like that kind of stuff. And I think that fear really leads us to making these really poor choices. And I tell people, take a breath, even a cancer diagnosis. Go home, sit and breathe and calm yourself down, right? Your dog doesn't know. And they're like, what is the matter with you? What did I do or what is happening? And then they get all stressed out. So like having the right expectations, not coming from fear, and patience. We are trained pharmaceutically. We're trained pharmautically. Like if something doesn't occur, like a woman said, well, she's been on it 3 days.
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking 6 to 8 weeks here, and it's not anyone's fault. And I have in my book, Janet, I have a whole section called Expectations in Healing, because I think that expectations are really needed. Like for herbs and using natural substances, like people have to get a little positivity under their belt, have some good experiences with it. Like a lot of people don't even understand, like cat people have been using herbs forever. Catnip is a wonderful nervous system herb. It's like really awesome at turning on the vagus nerve, the parasympathetic nervous system that calms everything down. They don't look at it as an herb, but it's an herb, and it can be used for dogs too. And there's cat grass and wheat grass, and a lot of people use like spirulina or chlorella. Those aren't herbs; they're algae. But I just think people need to have some positive experiences. And you take, if you figure out your dog's energetics, you figure out if they're a warm or cool dog, then you start just add one herb in that you may think. I have in the back of the book, I have these things called cofactors. Okay. Let's just look at the cofactor. Well, not that one, because that one's a little more different. Let's look at the cofactors for gotu kola. This is a perfect example. So you look in the back of the book, it looks something like this. That's all about Gotu Kola. Okay. So Gotu Kola, and I mentioned Gotu Kola throughout the book on different ailments, but Gotu Kola has cofactors, and cofactors are like symptoms. All right. And the more cofactors your dog has, the more well indicated that herb is. So you're just your average American pet parent trying to figure out if this, like what you should do, right? Your dog has, I would say, your dog is warm. They are a little hyperactive, and they've got, let's just say, some connective tissue weakness, like they had a CCL tear, okay? Like a tendon tear or something. Okay, so you're looking at here and you're going, okay, cofactors, acid reflux, adrenal weakness, anal gland conditions, anxiety, arthritis, CCL tear. There's one. But you know what? Last year they had acid reflux. Their stomach's always been a little off, and they're 12 years old, and I've noticed that they're just not as responsive as they used to. Maybe they're getting a little dementia. And 2 years ago, when they were at the vet told me that they had a little, like, kind of like almost high blood pressure. And they definitely, I feel like they're stressed because I'm a stressed mess. And then, there's a whole bunches of things. Heart weakness, hernia, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high toxic load, hypothyroid, leaky gut, nervous system, nervousness, obesity. Yeah, and they're a little overweight, and their skin is a little itchy. So that would be like 8 cofactors, and you already know your dog is warm. Okay, so you're looking at the right herb because it's warm. That would be 8 cofactors that your dog has had or does have, right? I even look into the past. If it's within 3 to 5 years, that's still a cofactor. Your dog suffered from acid reflux. So that actually would be a really good herb to start with. It'd be really good. And we give dosages.
Nice.
So we have a tincture dosage. We have an infusion dosage for Gotu Kola. Your dog is a Chihuahua. And so we're going to do 1 to 3 little drops of the extract. And then we're going to do a 1/4 teaspoon of the powder or the ground Gotu Kola. And that is the leaf, because the parts used are in there, the ground leaf. And I'm going to make a tea out of it and put it on my dog's food. So, because it's really good as a tea. And I'm going to give it to my dog for 6 to 8 weeks, because how do I know that? Because I have a guide on how long to give herbs to your dog, right?
Beautiful.
To expect, we want to move in the right direction. All of a sudden they have more mobility. They're not having as much dementia, Oh, wow, that's a really good herb. And then if you take them off the herb and they start to decline, that means you need to put them back on the herb. That's just a little
Nice.
line. But you can also look at formulas that way and, look at all the formulas that you have. And the thing with some people I think some companies get a little intimidated by that because they're looking from a sales perspective. But it doesn't mean anything is wrong with that product, right? It just means that product is not right for your individual dog, right? It's not about sales. It's not about any of that. It's about, does that formula have more cooling than warming, or more warming than cooling? It might have a nice balance, right, of cooling. Let's just say it had like 3 cooling, 3 warming, and I have lists upon lists in the back about what's warming and cooling. And, it's fine. Your dog isn't super sick. You're doing it as support, perfectly fine. But when you go to take them off that formula, I've had people take them off formulas and that dog starts feeling better, starts running around, not as much lethargy, because they're on an energetically inappropriate formula. So you can look at formulas different. And if it's something that you feel is really awesome, then you can give it a try. But like I said, the more sick your dog is, the more sensitive they're going to be to energetically inappropriate herbs.
That's fascinating.
when you mentioned, Rita, like 6 to 8 weeks, and then you stop giving the herb, I don't think you said wean them off. I think you said you stop.
Yes. But yeah.
And then if we start observing a repetition of the same decline, you
Put them
start
right
it
back in.
again. So
Yeah. And, you can, I mean, depending on the herb, and I tell you in the book, if it's not something that can be given long-term, you can give some herbs long-term, and some herbs are not good for long-term. But like if you're giving an herb for mobility or a formula, and you take them off that formula and they start going right downhill, you just put them back on the formula. The body wants it. The body wants it.
right,
Right.
right. Yeah.
The reason why you have to wean things off like pharmaceuticals is because pharmaceuticals are a hammer. They're forcing the body into submission, right? And you can't just you just can't like take that away, because the bounce back can cause a lot of problems. And sometimes you need that submission. I'm not anti-pharmaceutical in any ways. I think some pharmaceuticals can be an absolute awesome bridge. I will tell you an example that I had this year. I had a dog that was itching, scratching, biting, licking. Fur was almost gone, right? And I mean, just terrible, absolutely terrible. And I said, and the people were upset as well. They were just mentally unwell about it, okay? So I said, you know what? I want you to go get one Cytopoint injection, okay? Just one.
Yeah.
And I said, go get a Cytopoint injection. I don't want you to get it until we have him on at least 6 weeks of herbs. Okay, you're going to have to, and I gave him creams and sprays just to give some relief to that poor puppy. We did Cytopoint, everyone calmed down. And, getting people to calm down is so important for that dog to recover. Because they think like, what is happening? Why does this person smell like stress all the time? Then they're all stressed. Dog calmed right down. We got him past the 12-week mark. This was like, I think like in January. They are awesome. All is well. No more biting, licking, scratching. Hair has grown back. Never had another Cytopoint. We reconditioned and modulated the immune system. We were all perfect. I only recommended the Cytopoint because everyone was a mess, an absolute mess. And that was a bridge for me. Like, that is a bridge. I am not completely anti-pharmaceutical. But I do think that, one, you need to prepare the body for that. You need to prepare the body to give it the tools in order to deal with a drug like that. That means you need to look at the side effects of that drug. Okay, what are the side effects of that drug? What can we do to the body to help it with that drug? Just like a flea and tick med. I'm not into those, but every now and then people get a flea infestation they can't get rid of. Okay, the person has fleas, the dog has fleas, we all have fleas. What can we do? What's the least toxic out there that can get this situation under control? But before we give that medicine, what can we give herbally to help the body have a non-reaction? It's a poison, okay? It's a nerve toxin. There are many beautiful herbs out there that can help with a toxic nervous system. So how can we hug the nervous system while the flea medicine is doing their work, and then get it out? Let's get those residues out and keep the flea infestation from happening again.
Yes.
So herbs can be used for that purpose. And in the book, I do cover vaccines. Like, if you have to get a vaccine, let's prepare the body for the vaccine, and let's work later after the vaccine to get it out, to get out all the adjuvants and residues and all those things. Some people have a Rottweiler that has to get a rabies vaccine, because if they don't, and they do something and someone reports them, like they charge at a person and all of a sudden they're reported, right? Because they're scary.
Yeah.
And they say, where's your rabies vaccine? And they don't have it. That poor dog will get put down, which is breaks my heart. So some of them have to get a rabies vaccine, which giving an aggressively prone dog a rabies vaccine,
Totally oxymoron.
in my opinion, is not a good idea. But
No.
how do we
Right.
keep it from happening? So with the rabies vaccine with an aggressive dog, we can give a lot of nervous system protection and work to get that out as soon as possible and minimize the damage that that vaccine can do. So I cover that in here as well. So, sometimes pharmaceuticals can be a bridge. And then, with antibiotics, my opinion is don't give them unless your dog is going to die. If your vet says your dog is going to die unless they have this antibiotic, then give the antibiotic and we have to deal with the fallout. But for a paw pad, let's exhaust all other options. And the book will give you some options. Let's exhaust all other options. Let's reach out to a second opinion before we throw antibiotics at it, because a lot of people don't realize that it is antibiotic. If I had the choice between a Cytopoint injection and a round of antibiotics, I'm going to choose Cytopoint every day of the week, 365 days a year. And I don't like Cytopoint.
Yep.
So
I would do the same, because it's not going to wipe out my entire immune system in my gut.
And I'm not a fan of any of that.
No.
But I don't have rigid thinking in that it's never appropriate.
Sometimes acute medicine is necessary. And I like the depiction that the illustration you just shared about you were preparing the body and you were aiding the body, externally. You were preparing it internally. And then you came in with, okay, let's get one Cytopoint shot, just one. And then let's continue.
Then we got about 3 months to get this online, and I'd much rather a Cytopoint shot than a round of steroids. So a round of Pred, I much rather. I'd rather prednisone than antibiotics any day of the week. There's a hierarchy. Antibiotics are my least favorite thing, but they do save lives. They've saved my life, so I can't say anything. But I had literally, once I learned, I had to deal with that. I'm still dealing with it, but they did save my life, and I'm happy to be here. Infection is no fun.
No.
But you got to save it for the big guns. Mine was a big gun, right? It was, you're going to die. Oh, okay. I'll take it. Thank you. Hope it works. But, 9.999% of the time, a dog is not going to die.
That's good information. I can't wait to read the book.
I know.
Yeah.
She's got allergies going on.
Bless you.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I had to sneeze.
You need a Cytopoint shot.
No.
No. Hey, but that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, she's sneezing. Let's go get her a Cytopoint shot.
Go get a prescription.
No, not unless it's just there's just no other way. But Pam, you got anything to say today? You're very quiet, very quiet.
I'm soaking it all up, but I would love for you to tell our listeners about the little bonuses that you put in your book about cats.
I wish I could remember them, but
just the fact that you even include tips.
I do. There is some cat bonuses in here. I would love to see a cat herbal. I've got some plans for that in the future, working with, a couple of people that love cats, possibly. But there's some kitties in here. So kitties are in my dosage section. I talk about kitties being dosed as small dogs and extra small dogs, depending on their weight, right? Average cat usually weighs below 25 pounds. So that's
below.
Yeah. Well, I've got a big one. I've got a 1 pounder, and Oski is already at 21 pounds. He's a big boy. And then Carl is, I think he's 11.
Okay.
So
that's about average.
Yeah. An average kitty.
Yeah.
And then in the Materia Medica, Materia Medica means resume for an herb. In the herb and plants and fungi section, you have to do I have in every herb, I believe, hold on, make sure that I can put my money where, here it is.
Used for cats.
Used for cats. Yes. Used for cats. No. Yes. I have, if kitties can use it, and if they cannot use it, or some of them I have, use this, use that, or use this instead. So, yes, I mean, dogs and cats are different species, but a lot of herbal stuff does map over onto kitties. It's just, one, it's a little harder to get in.
Yeah.
One, if you have a cat, make sure you have a pillar. I don't know if you know what a pillar is, but it's this plastic tube that you put a little pill in the bottom and you put it in your mouth and you go. And my partner is the best I've ever seen at it. It's amazing. And then, they do well with like glycerin extracts. Cats can have alcohol, but like cat dose is going to be less than 3 single drops of any cat I've ever met. So they're just good. It's going to be really low. And so they can have all of that stuff. It's kind of hard to get them to eat a powder. They are like, no, I'm not eating that. And so, I just get a pair of Kevlar gloves and call it done.
My secret ingredient is baby food or the puree, the.
Yep. Give the PEA with that.
Yes.
PEA, he gets with
I
his
love it.
Yeah. He loves it.
I can hide herbal tinctures and Gerber baby food meat purees.
I just want to say that Carl, who I rescued from Carrie.
Yeah.
We don't use the L. We go, and he will sit in my arms like a baby. And I just put it inside of his mouth and he goes,
yes.
Such a good boy. He never tries to kill me.
Boy.
My other cat, Bones, who has since passed away, he would try to kill me. I always had to use oven mitts. And I'd tell him, I'm like, Bones, I love you, honey. I love you. And he'd be like, yeah, whatever. I'm out of here. But yeah. So yes, kitties are covered.
I'm so excited for that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I did not kitties, my kitty brethren.
Yes, we appreciate that.
Very much. I wanted to add, because I heard someone else recently tell me when they're trying to give herbs to their cats, they will use ghee or like a melted ghee underneath of their their raw food or their canned food, whatever they're eating. And apparently that works fairly well.
Nice.
I don't know.
Yeah, my cats don't like it.
They don't?
My cats like butter.
Yeah.
But that would be another option, just regular, grass-fed butter.
Yeah. I'd say, try whatever works with cats. Cats they're so different. They're just different.
They are. They're not small dogs.
No, they are not small dogs. It's true. They are not small dogs, even though Oski's kind of like a dog.
They're wired more for their survival instincts, I think, are just so much greater than dogs.
Yes, they are.
They're very self-protective. Yeah.
They got big eyes.
They do.
They're almost doing the big eye.
Yeah.
What does this got to do with herbs?
Doing? Okay, let's get back on
track.
Well, I think that you've covered so much. One of the things that I didn't ask you the last time we spoke, and we haven't brought up today, is finding like high quality herbs. Like, even though you say, okay, this herb, you decide, you look through the book, you read through the book, you find an herb that you're like, okay, I think I want to try this for my pet. Like, what kind of recommendations do you have for sourcing if people can't grow their own stuff?
I'm so glad you asked that, Jessica. The book has a website called The Herbal Dog, and it has a sourcing section, which is going to be growing and growing and growing as time goes on. I have some sourcing in there, but you just go to the website, go under sourcing, and there's sourcing for Canada, the UK, Australia, and United States.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Very nice.
And do you think it could possibly be safe for people to start in their own herb cabinet, like whatever they have already is that safe to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, start looking at what you got. I've got more than you can ever imagine.
I bet you do.
I am ready for the apocalypse if it ever happens.
But does it rotate?
No, I don't have the
rotating
spinner.
plate.
I don't have the spinner. I do have a Lazy Susan on my dining room table, though. I do have that. So I could put it there. Yeah.
We need to get together and play some cards and have the Lazy Susan rotational herbs.
And then just everyone who loses takes a hit of the tincture.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I like it.
Okay. I have one more question. And I
Okay.
don't think that we covered it, but it does go back to some of the things that you were talking about regarding, when a trip to the traditional veterinarian may be necessary, when a prescription or a side point shot or whatever may be necessary. And this is a question that personally I always second guess myself. And this came up yesterday in the store. And I was talking with a pet parent, and her particular dog is 8 years old, had liver failure over a year ago, and has since been on 3 prescriptions and has never come off of them. And my same Aussie that I mentioned earlier, 13-year-old Charlie, he went into liver failure and was hours away from dying at the age of 1.5. And that's when I learned my very first herb that I learned about was milk thistle to help support the liver. And, I didn't at the time, I didn't jump in and start studying about nutrition or holistic anything at the time. I just happened, I don't know where I even heard about milk thistle to support the liver. But this dog, again, over a year, 3 medication. She said that they were about to get ready to stop, and she kind of relapsed, and her liver enzymes were elevated again. And so they said, do not come off of the medication. And so I was talking with her, and I said, well, what changed? Because that just seems really unusual that it would just spike for no reason. And she's like, nothing. And I ask this question all the time. And I said, did you give flea, tick, and heartworm medicine? And yes. Yeah, your face. If our podcasts are, listeners, are just, not
that's really
watching.
hard on the liver. So it's hard on the
Yeah.
liver and kidneys.
Yes.
Not necessarily depending on the heart. Like if it's just ivermectin, ivermectin's pretty benign. It's not that bad at all. But if it was like trifexis or something, that dog should not be on any of those with any type of liver failure problems.
Yes. That's what I said, you're smart.
Well, you should give milk thistle along with those. I mean, I would tell her, I can't tell someone to go off pharmaceuticals, but if I was a friend, I would tell her that. And if she can't, then give milk thistle 2 weeks before and 6 weeks after.
Yes. So that's what my question is about that interaction. That's where I was leading is, okay, more than likely that's flea, tick, and heartworm. That trifexis medication is what spiked those liver enzymes. That she was never told to stop using them, although she had stopped, and then they came in on an auto shipment that her husband reenacted.
Yeah, but she's not gonna be told to stop.
No, she's not. And so that's where we tell them to stop constantly. And then I said, and I was talking to her about milk thistle, and I said, but do your research. And this is where I always second guess that interaction, because I'm not trained in pharmacy. I'm not a trained veterinarian. But I think logically plants don't interact with medications. But I also have, I think I've heard you say before, if this, then don't do that. So can you talk about that for us?
Yes. I mean, all herbs could interact with certain medications. There's some medications that work on the P450 pathway, like St. John's wort and some other ones that you can't use with any pharmaceuticals. There's a few of them, a lot of them, but I have that in the book.
In the book.
If what types of medicines that they interfere with. So yeah, you want to look at, if your dog's on pharmaceuticals, you definitely want to look at that. And you can usually find that out. But I do cover it in my book, and I cover all the herbs that I talk about in my book. I tell you what they interfere with.
Excellent. Thank you. I wanted to be sure and cover that. And again, when this comes out, your book will have been released, so they can get it at the herbaldog.com.
They can get it anywhere they buy a book.
Okay.
It is not self-published or anything. So it's published by my publisher, Inner Traditions in Vermont, and it's available in Australia and the UK and Canada and America and everywhere. Anywhere you buy books. You'll be able to get it at the herbaldog.com and my other websites. You will definitely be able to buy it anywhere. Your local bookstore can order it for you if they don't have it. You can encourage them to carry it.
I think you should come to Georgetown and do a book signing.
Yes.
Georgetown. Where's George? You mean in the DC?
North,
Texas.
we're north of Austin.
We're Central Texas. Would you like to come
How
visit?
far is that from
20
20
miles north.
Consider it done, ladies.
Come on.
Yes.
One of you send me an email about that.
You can
Okay.
stay with me.
Yeah, consider it done. Send me an email. We'll put it on the schedule.
Nice. And we can host it at my store.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I have
Oh,
to have
yeah.
it if I'm in
2
Texas.
of them.
Okay. I just have to. I have to. I remember when I was in San Antonio and my sister's air conditioner went out. Thought I was going to die. I thought
were.
I was in the car with the
You
air
were.
conditioning going, how am I going to get home? Our flight doesn't leave for a week. I'm going to die. I've got it. And I didn't even think about going to a hotel because I was young with my family and I didn't have that type of money. And I was like, oh my God, we're going to die here. Yeah.
Yep. You would have.
The last time I was in Texas too. I haven't been to Texas in a long time.
No.
Yeah. Consider it done. We'll make that happen. That'll be fun.
Jessica, you're still muted.
Sorry.
I read your
I can't-
lips. Oh my gosh.
I know. There's just so much background noise here. I'm sorry. Yes, there's a requirement if you live in Texas that you have to have
They come
air
in.
conditioning.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
hot in the summer.
Yes.
It is unbearable.
And of course, it's most likely going to be in the summer. So send me an email and we'll figure that out. But if I can go to Super Zoo, I can do this.
You can do Texas.
You
For sure.
can for
Yeah.
sure.
Absolutely.
Sure, do it.
So, okay. You have the book. The book is now out. You can get it anywhere you buy books. You're going on tour, so check theherbaldog.com to see if Rita is coming anywhere near you and make sure to get it because I'm sure that if tickets are involved, they will go very, very quickly.
Some events have tickets and usually it covers a book and if you already have a book, then, you can work it out with the store and then some events don't. So it just depends on what the host wants to do.
Yeah. Yes. And then I know you have other things going on. At the very beginning of this episode, you mentioned a monograph that you did. So can you tell us a little bit about the other offerings you have?
I can tell you what I got. So I have a school. I just started a school. It's called the Ethos School of Holistic Canine Herbalism, but it's at canineherbalism.com. And you can take single classes. You can study to become a canine herbalist. You can do a lot of things. That's going to be growing. And I have a lot of stuff going on there. So canineherbalism.com. And then I have canineherbalist.com. That's my store and consulting. And then on my Canine Herbalism platform, I have a subscription group for $15 a month where you can ask me any question you want. It's the best way to get a hold of me, and it's super economical. And it's like having an herbalist on call. And then I have a monthly monograph subscription service that's $12 a month. And each month we deal with a different plant. And that's just a way to support my work and get a lot of good monographs for plants. So those are fun. Remember, it's a resume of a plant. It tells you all the stuff you need to know to use it. And then I have a dental health class. I have a flea class. I have a phytoembryonic therapy class, which is another story. And I have a level 1 herbalism course too. And then I have a podcast that's free called Dogs Are Individuals. It's every week, wherever you get podcasts. I'm on socials at Canine Herbalist under Instagram and Facebook. And I have a private Facebook group. And I'm going to have a book study group. That's at the Herbal Dog on Facebook. There'll be a group. So it's a lot going on. There's a lot.
It is.
That's
A
awesome.
lot. And then you have to record the audio version.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. We got invited to be on Audible, like invited to the Audible studios. So I'm so excited about that. I'm going to record my own book and then it will be on all the book audio platforms. I'm excited about that. I don't know when that's going to happen or how soon, but it will happen this year. So we're
Exciting.
very excited about that.
And when you run into Mel Robbins, she's going to love you and bring you on her podcast.
Right? We'll just be in the same city or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, she is Miss Audible, I think. So,
Okay, Rita, one question just for our listeners. You do consultations for cats too, right?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I do consultations for cats.
Okay. Just wanted people to know. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
So
Awesome.
thank you so
well,
much.
Rita, I can't thank you enough for coming on, sharing your knowledge, for everything, all of your hard work, sweat, blood, sweat, tears that I know went into this book and everything else that you do. And I just want to say thank you again for being here with all of us.
You are welcome. Thank you, Pet Health Junkies.
Yes. But
Thank you.
all right, guys, we'll talk to you next time.
Okay, bye-bye.